Welcome back everybody, it's DestinysJesus here. Today I've got a new video on basically breaking down two full games from the solo cash cup which Benjyfishy won. If you didn't know, Benji's won a cash cup in every single season. He's extremely consistent in them. So I'm basically breaking down what he's doing in terms of early game, mid game, a bunch of things that he's doing in terms of tips and tricks of winning his fights, all sorts of stuff like that, as well as a couple different ending game things. This should help you do better in solos as well as just improve your overall gameplay. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Biggest part of success in a cash cup in my eyes is how good your drop spot is and how much loot you can get from that drop spot. Benji's landing here at Doom's Domain. You'll notice a couple of different things. He's trying to isolate these two houses here with a henchman crate, and how he does this is landing on this AR on the roof, gets some white damage on this guy. It's really good to get this damage out of the sky because he knows he's going to delay that guy's rotation out, make him more vulnerable to getting W keyed by other players landing near him, and Benji completely isolates this area here by forcing this guy away with AR shots out the sky. Now he's in a really good spot to go over and grab the henchman. Doesn't have to waste any of your shield. You can go down here and grab the henchman crate, get completely stacked and ready to fight. One thing you're going to note, as soon as Benji gets that loot, he's immediately going to go ahead and W key into this area here. Notice there's players fighting down below, and look how he prioritizes actually wiping out the bottom of Vault here. Sees Dr. Doom below him, but instead he just shockwaves over it, gets a freedom on that. And he's not scared to waste his movement in this off-spawn fight because he knows he can get more through mid-game W keying and also can get more from the vault. So just clearing that player out, preventing the third party is really valuable here as well. Winning your off-spawn is really important in these games. So Benji, before he doubles back towards vault, takes his time, goes and loots some extra buildings, gets some peppermints to heal up as well and some jelly beans. So make sure he's at good HP and then re-engages at this point. Got his health up, he's also got his mats up a lot, so he's good for any kind of box fight situation where he's not going to run out of mats and he can just play his mat advantage. This other player's been camping towards the vault for a while, and look, this really nice tip that Benji does is he goes towards the ceiling here to get some free damage from the top side. Because this is all Benji's builds that he's claimed earlier, this other player has to back out. At this point, Benji gets the extended cone. This is a really nice thing to do, just making sure you get those extended cones when you're ramping towards somebody, because it stops shift from going upwards and making that space and kind of turning it into a build fight. So Benji does that cone to prevent it. Really nice boosted side jump here. Then does a 180, gets the stair first, and then the wall. Perfect right hand peek as well, the window, and 60 pump. One thing that I think is really underrated for cash cups is making sure that you optimize your heal setup and also your gun setup. Benji makes sure that he always has minis and splashes, that's kind of his preferred heal, and also making sure that you upgrade to a purple pump every game. I do not care what situation you're in, you should always be prioritizing trying to have a purple pump. You're so much better off fighting with only 500 mats but a purple pump than fighting with cap mats and a blue or green pump. It's so valuable and it's so essential in game to get all of these kills here that he finds. Just that initial amount of damage and the range as well as the reload and everything like that is so important to make sure. As soon as he gets that, Benji prioritizes farming metal, realizes that second zone is going to be kind of awkward to rotate with Stark, so he just caps his metal and caps his brick and his hard mats since he can get his wood when he's rotating later on. Center third zone is probably the most important thing for success in solos. If you can consistently get center third zone with a really good mat cap, then you're going to be in a very good position to do well. The easiest way to do this is, as you can see, just using a car for your mid-game rotation. Just try to keep your car in a really good spot on second zone as well. We saw this with the Marzo W VOD we did with the first place in DreamHack. And we also saw this with Barge Villas VOD with Macwood, where Macwood 3 games in a row just using a car consistently. So what Benji does is actually drive it up towards a really good position on center of third zone here. He gets up towards Stark, boxes in metal, he's in a perfect spot, and look at his map cap. 140 builds, hasn't wasted a single one of his heals or any of his movement items. And he's in a really good position to do well in this endgame. This is another very small nitpicky thing that I have with solos, and it's just basically people doing too much, right? They're trying to edit too many things, they're trying to go for too many opportunities. If you're in a good situation, just keep yourself in a good situation. Count how many times Benji edits his wall, edits his cone, or just looks for more info. What he does is just gets in his cone in a second, and he's going to sit there for a long period of time, and just make himself very discreet. Doesn't want to get any attention drawn to himself. All he needs to do is play towards this endgame here. Skip another minute, nothing's happened, still hasn't edited a single thing. He's just getting all that info and just staying still in his box. Skip another minute. Still not doing anything, just sitting in this cone, getting all this information, realizing that he could service spray these guys, he could try to go for that info, but that would make himself more at risk. He doesn't want to waste any skills. He's got a perfect setup. All he's doing here is just looking for an opportunity that would actually be worth it for him, and also pre-planning his rotations and scouting all info. As soon as this guy does a bouncer rotate, Benji perfect opportunity to go for a rotate. Doesn't get tagged once during that, and he's in a perfect position on 5th zone as well. There's a couple nice things that Benji does here on his first moving rotate. First of all is just remembering where the actual half was and what's going to be the least clustered side. There's so many people up on this north side here, so he decides to rotate on the south side along the right edge of the zone as it moves, and this allows him to get 2 free refreshes we'll get into in a second. Also expands one box towards the side so he can get some more sightlines and info. Then he sets up his crash pad rotate here. Gonna go ahead and do it, get more information, scout as much as possible. Then he crash pads out one box, and again towards his right side you see how many little players there are here, and he gets completely front side and then he decides to elevate and get up his layer. Another crash pad on the floor, pretty standard. And this is actually a really useful trick that not a lot of people know about. It's basically how you can exploit into somebody's box from above without really being too alert at all. So Benji, instead of going for that farm, he confirms the player's there. Crash pad on the cone itself, that pops him downwards, as you can see here. Pops him kind of downwards and back. And he's going to pop into this guy's box at this point. Gets the cone up top as well, traps him in. And gets a free refresh there. And the second kill is kind of just good awareness. And it's the fact that he knows this player, who's likely to be low ground holding, is going to be 1 HP or below at least, because he's going for that kill quite desperately and very open. Benji gets good timing, just comes into the box and gets a freedom. Also builds out that back wall, makes sure everything is sealed off. There's no airtight openings so somebody can just run in. He completely seals it off and gets the elim, so continue rotating on. A couple really nice things here that Benji does to actually go ahead and get his elim on somebody else towards the later part of moving zones. First of all, is dropping down his layer and realizing this player just got the refresh, so that's kind of a perfect person to go for a kill. Blocks off the cone and forces him to use movement. Because of him blocking him off with the pieces there, he's forced to go towards low. Benji gets really nice timing where he drops into Storm and gets a nice pump shot. Gets the cone, also tries to get the back wall there, you see. But instead he just commits into the pump shot and he stops his angle. Most importantly here, look how he blocks off his height above him just so he can't get focused at all. Then he comes back in for the play on towards the guy's wall, realizes he's popping minis, perfect timing, here's the mini Q as well, and he exploits straight in and gets a free refresh. Really good mats to carry on the game. This endgame sequence is basically a perfect combination of playing your timings correctly and also reading the kill feed and the player's left count. So one thing that Benji's doing here is not wasting his splash of shield, using him for his health and storm. Gets the timing on the drop on this player, then he's able to come up towards the hill and get kill on Veno on the side here. Just like so, gets all the mats from that as well. Look how he pays attention to the audio cue. You just heard it there. And again, you hear the player on the grass, on the ground. Benji checks to kill people remaining. Only 2 left. Knows it's a 1v1 situation. Checks his reloads, checks his ammo, checks his inventory. Everything's good. And look how he just plays this really patiently. Just uses single floors to maintain height. Blocks off both times in Storm. Other players going for Storm. At this point, Benji could play for heal. Or instead what he does is decide to commit down and get the elim as the player runs underneath him. This is a perfect example of how good your timings needs to be, and also a couple different things you can do for reading into other players' habits and tendencies that they have when they're fighting. So first of all, just realizing here, as this guy shockwaves towards him and he lands, how Benji can go for this instant edit just because the guy's pulled out as a, you hear that kind of high-pitched click. He gets the initial edit there, then he's going to go ahead and realize, you see that initial double swing to go for the wall take. Benji realizes instantly the guy's done a double swing once, so as soon as he swings his pickaxe the second time, he's not pulling out a shotgun, not pulling out his build menu, he's just standing there with his pickaxe out, and he goes to edit again and catches him off guard. If you want to know more about those kind of tips and tricks for reading tendencies into your opponents, I'm going to be updating my online course with a full video on how to read into those, and that should help you win more in-game fights. So the next game where Benji wins, he does the exact same thing mid-game, just rotates into a secondary POI where he can farm a little bit of his mats, and then goes ahead and grabs a car, uses that to rotate into center second, which is over here, and then as soon as third zone pop, literally instantly he went into center third, and he's in a really good position in terms of mats and heals. As you can see here, mat camp's extremely good, and because he's center third, he's pretty much 100% guaranteed to go ahead and get that fourth zone, and that means all that he has to do in this game is use his movement for fifth zone, and he's already capped mats. Shockwaves will bounce as well. This is a perfect example of how efficient you're going to be in terms of time and mats in the moving zone. So as you see here, zone's going to bounce back towards Benji. It's immediately going to go ahead and move. So 2 builds there, 4 builds, 6 builds, and he gets into this really good position. And look how he builds an extended 3-layer box all around himself, where he's got all these angles covered off, and it's open. So that helps deal with crash padders, people trying to exploit in for a refresh, or somebody shockwaving up and accidentally getting caught in your base. Also gives him a lot of sightlines opportunities to look back for a refresh. So he goes for that bloom barrel on that guy. Kind of misses out there. Looks downwards for a kill. So has all this time still. Looks upwards for a kill. Now he actually starts fighting this guy above him. Trying to go for a shield check on him. He's been very patient, just waiting. So he doesn't actually need a refresh just yet. Gets the 8 tag and realizes, okay, probably not worth it. The guy's still got a little bit of shield left. I'm just going to carry on my rotate. Not going to wait for zone to come too close to me. Continues rotating. That extra race has already been broken by somebody shockwaving, which is why it's so essential to have it. And now he's able to just scout, get all this information about what's ahead of him and process it, and choose a good path to come in. It lags a little bit, but what he's going to go ahead and do is come over to the left. As soon as he realizes this player is on this level, he's going to go up and get above him, and now be in a very good position to go into second moving. A couple of nice things that Benji does here towards the end of the moving zone here. First of all, he goes and replaces this wall just so he's a little bit more control around the enemy builds around him. And also the fact he doesn't overexpand and waste his mats going forward. He just places his very edge of zone and waits for it to bounce. Then he starts looking for a kill. Just misses his one on low ground, so he starts looking on his layer here again. Very slow and deliberate right peek on the guy back in Storm. And again, another really slow right and peek. He's not jumping or rushing it. Just peeks into the guy, gets the Siphon Mats. And this is the point where he kind of thinks, okay, I've got my refresh. My heals are still good. I'm just going to go for that win condition. So what is that? Scouts height, checks it, realizes the other guy messed up his builds, and he's able to go up. And this is a pretty free one at this point. Just gets the refresh and then goes for height as zone is moving. And he just has to be very careful with shockwaves as well. Whenever you're in game and you realize other two players are fighting, you need to do your best to try to interrupt them and stop the other guy from getting the Siphon Mats and also the Siphon health. So Benji does perfectly, drops there, and then he goes ahead and gets his blueprint edit from above. You see there he messes up initially because he does it as pump out. Then he swaps to his blueprint and he's able to do it completely and kill for a strokey on low ground. That's all for this video. I hope you guys learned a couple new things. I might do this more for the Cash Cup, whoever just wins, and just break down a couple of their games. Let me know if you want to do that in the future, and I should have a How to WQ video coming out very shortly as well.